Before we start, the name is at the top right of the screen. The story begins with Kim Young wondering if she has succeeded after the master of the final floor has vanquished, as the clear condition of the epic quest has been fulfilled. She wonders, really, it's truly the end now. However, the monster in the game cannot believe he lost to a human and thinks this cannot be happening. He whines about his grand plan not being concluded yet. She asks him, is he really talking about a grand plan? Well, if world domination is such a big deal, he cannot really die with grace. She is quick to add, it's really uncreative. The system tells him the king of waves and healing expresses regret that he is now returning to the original world, and the malicious blood cult leader sniffles with tears. She asks him, why is he crying? It's just the end of the story. They have been through enough together, haven't they? And it seems like it's time to say goodbye. The system asks her how she could say such a thing. She simply replies, oh, they're getting old now, and requests them to let her just go home. She lets them know her dog is waiting for her. Her Maltese Cerberus must be eagerly waiting for her alone. The system points out that when the possession ends, the dog won't remember the time he has been waiting. She tells them that's right, she's the one waiting, and she's dying to see her dog at home. That's when the monster lets her know he will seek revenge. She admits he is quite persistent, but tells him to seek revenge from the uncreative author, not her. He warns her since she has destroyed his wish, he will also destroy her strongest wish. She attacks him with her sword and tells him if he's going to die, then he should die quickly instead of cursing around. She reminds him how many people he has killed and talks about revenge, as if it's some wish, others don't have that luxury, he should die. He gives her an evil smile and tells her in the next life, his revenge will be fulfilled. She will forever remain there. She thinks he's already talking about next life, huh? But she is done. As long as she clears the quest, she is out. He can curse all he wants, but she still won. The other users praise her for her wisdom, and the Lord of Temptation tempts her to dream of puppies 100 times more. However, the malicious blood cult leader subtly suggests that he should become a dog. She calls him a grandfather and asks him how old is he. He's offended and says that he's not a grandfather, but a figure of reverse age transformation. She says, what can she do anyway? Both she and the old man are over 100 years old anyway. The malicious blood cult leader urges her to quickly claim her clear rewards and turns away. She agrees that there's no delay and asks the system to go to the quest window and demand them to quickly give her rewards. However, the system provides her with emergency notice. There has been an error in the system, and they are urgently updating it. They deeply appreciate her patience. She wonders, what's this? This is a new notification, isn't it? The system further informs her that currently she cannot access the status window. She goes berserk and screams at them. Then what about the rewards? Will the rewards be given properly? The system sends another notification that the system is currently undergoing an update. She should wait a moment. She shouts at them and demands to know what nonsense this is. She wants her rewards right now and to go back. They instead provide her with a new notification that the author of S-Rank Hunter Gets Stronger with Regression has released their new work. They ask her how about enjoying the author's next work called What If the Hunter Becomes the Villainous Duchess Lover right now? She's sweating as she asks why such a cheap title for the next work. The system tells her quest conditions have been met and congratulates her on clearing the epic quest successfully. However, due to a system error, the content of the rewards will be changed. Previous clear reward was possession end and then return to the original world, but the changed clear reward is repossession end, and the repossession as another novel protagonist. She's so clueless that she cannot find the right words to ask. The system alert responds by apologizing, and that it seems due to the current system error, it may be difficult to provide the promised reward to return back to her world instead. It will give her an even better reward. It will repossess her as the protagonist of her next work as Rank Hunter Becomes the Villainous Duchess. The system is quick to add that they believe she will be satisfied, as this novel is also entertaining. She literally loses it upon hearing it and screams at them to call the management team or call the author. The ruler of the final floor, the regressor who annihilated the owner of the tower. She was actually in a state of possession. In the fantasy novel, the rank hunter gets stronger every regression. The day she took the civil service exam in South Korea, she studied for 4 years and 7 months and finally passed, celebrating with a meal out. She got into a car accident and died. And then she got possessed in the novel she had been reading during her 4 years and 7 months of her exam preparation. At first it was fun to become an S-rank hunter and turn into Munchkin. Also, she made a contract after snatching away the top 3 rankings of the thrones from their original work. Despite having such overpowering stats, Yi-young never managed to defeat the boss even once, as the antagonist and final boss of the novel she possessed was just too strong with no weakness and incredibly diverse attack patterns. There was no strategy to defeat them, plus, since the novel was unfinished, the matter to clear the game was unknown. Nevertheless, Kim Yi-young succeeded. She managed to devise a strategy to defeat the final boss after 58 regressions. She has entered the new novel with a new face and wonders, so what do they do now, even though she was supposed to return to the original world and all. She is furious that instead of giving out the rewards for completing the quest while dying, they are making her possess another novel again. She calls for the quest window and it appears. It provides her with information that she is now incarnated as the infamous villainess Renée Magritte, the daughter of the strongest martial artist of the Lamdish Empire. She has been falsely accused of murdering the Saint Lion Karis and hiding her body, and now she is imprisoned in an underground dungeon, and she has to find a way to escape from the prison at all costs. She thinks, luckily through the quest window she can at least roughly understand the situation. The system remains the same, only the world has changed, and judging by the title and the quest content of the novel, it seems like she is incarnated into a romance fantasy novel. She wonders what should she do. She hates romance. She reads the other information provided by the system and wonders if there is a balanced patch going on. She has never encountered this before. Every time the system displayed an intricate level of perfection, it felt so meticulously crafted to the point where it seemed like everything was tailored just for her. She thinks the fact that the system, which used to be so meticulous, is now showing such sloppy behavior. She believes it probably means that this wasn't a planned incarnation. Perhaps it's indeed the work of that owner of the tower pulling some tricks. She thinks so that curse in the end was powerful enough to cause errors in the system. But there is no point in just thinking while trapped, so she should start with the quest. She knows she needs to escape from this prison, then she can also escape from this incarnation. She decides to first experiment to see the extent of her abilities. The malicious Blood Lord suggests her to start by breaking everything, while the King of Waves and Healing advises caution and tries to restrain the malicious Blood Lord. She asks them what do they know about this world and demand them to explain it to her. The Lord of Temptation says that this world is connected to their homeland, the demon realm, where they were born. She wonders if it's just a typical fantasy world, isn't it? Anyway, that's just beside the point. She asks, could they check their stats? Has anyone's stats changed? The malicious Blood Lord says that they have fallen from being able to traverse continents to being able to split mountains. The tempting sovereign says that it's worse than the underworld, but better than the previous one. The King of Waves and Healings is watered that their stats have significantly decreased. She asks them how much worse the stats have gotten. The King of Waves and Healing team says they cannot use the Resurrection of Water skill here. She tells them that's okay, since she could hardly use it in her past life anyway, and then asks if everyone is okay then. They all nod in agreement. She believes so. Basically her abilities are just slightly worse than before, and that she just needs to worry about the standard of this world. With seemingly effortless strength, she dismantles the prison cell, shattering its hinges as if they were mere fragile obstacles. She wonders if perhaps there is no need to worry after all. The Lamdish Empire's greatest warrior, the iron-blooded Marquess Macuras, the Empire's only duke who has built up honor with his exceptional swordsmanship. For centuries, the Macuras family has consistently produced numerous foreign masters, but now faces the imminent threat of downfall. The only saint in the Empire and the fiancé of the Crown Prince Ryan Karis. The noble daughter of the Macaris disappeared on the outskirts of the Macaris duchy. Even the most likely suspect is Reme Macaris, the disgraced noblewoman and the empire's worst villainess. She is the daughter of the Macaris Duke. Macaris, the Marquess of Macaris, orders his men to prepare for the battle. He adds she may be an unparalleled skilled fighter, but there's a palpable tension in the air. His brother Kirill Macaris, the second son of the Macaris Duke, has already drawn out his sword. And he adds when the count reaches 3, they need to attack together. The count starts. They all get ready to attack, but just as they count 3, Renee appears from the basement all lively and energetic, noticing they are accompanied by so many people. Later they are settled in the living room, and her brothers demand she spit it out. Who got her out of the prison? She casually replies she did, just because that prison was poorly guarded. He thinks to herself, seriously, how many times are they going to ask the same question? They need to progress the quest instead of wasting time here. Auntie asks her so whose skill was that exceptional agility and demands to know the name of that brat who's helping her. She thinks to herself he's got quite the voice. He asks her if that's the guy who killed Karas. Did she hire him? He observes her dismissive demeanor and asks if she is even listening to him. Kirill replies on her behalf and says looks like she's not listening, brother. She is, however, busy observing their affinity and believes even with the broken status screens, their affinity is rock bottom. The system tells her she has 2 older brothers and she needs to develop her relationship with those 2 in order to secure a better future. Anti-affinity is 800 and Kirill affinity is 600, clear reward. Partial restoration of status screens. The system tells her she has been accused of murdering St. Liam Karas, and she needs to make someone believe in her innocence. Clear conditions are to create a believer Glear, and reward is prestige plus 30. She mumbles about how she is tasked with taking care of these brats' affinities and her crumbling reputation. Auntie asks her what is she saying. She replies he doesn't need to know, but thanks for his concern, and then remembers about affinity. She needs to watch her manners if she needs to raise affinity. This causes him to be mad, who believes it seems like she has completely lost her mind, while Krill tries to distract him so the situation doesn't worsen. And she is busy thinking let's forget about these guys and focus on raising prestige. She tells him that's beside the point, but she's just saying because she doesn't really understand the current situation she is in. She asks them why they would think she killed that saint. Auntie asks why does he think she killed the saint? Is she really saying that nonsense? He reminds her she was the one spreading rumors about killing the saint. He adds she even disappeared from their family estate and the whole world suspects she is the one behind it. He says even if they imprisoned her for centuries, it's uncertain if the family's honor will be preserved, yet she managed to escape prison again. He asks her how far does she intend to disgrace their family name. She simply replies all right, she got the information he mentioned and asks so where's the evidence? Is there a body? He says wasn't it dismembered? Is it still intact? Did she hide the body and evidence? That's why she's quite confident. She ignores his tantrum and simply asks so nothing's been found yet? Kirill replies well, there's no solid evidence, but she is the only suspect. No one else came even close to being a suspect. Auntie reminds them just her having a grudge against Karas is a challenging issue in itself. Auntie questions if it wasn't her, then who could have killed someone so virtuous? Auntie tells her it's not even too late now. If she confesses and reveals the location of the body, His Highness the Prince might forgive her, at least until the audience trial. He reminds her that father was going to the palace to preserve the family's honor to some extent. So if she has any last bit of conscience left, she should speak up. She wonders why are they bringing up the prince instead of the emperor here. Kirill asks her what is with her reaction. He reminds her that the prince is personally overseeing this case. She says no, but why would the prince go to such lengths usually? But she's cut off by Auntie, who questions is she still under the illusion that His Highness will favor her. He is quick to add it's been over 3 years since His Highness got engaged to Karas Lion, and she should get rid of the illusion that there will be an opportunity. He says enough with the family nonsense, and isn't she tired of this unrequited love? She realizes so that's what happened. Renee loved the prince too much, so she tried several times to kill his fiancée. She thinks it's too obvious to even think about, but something does not seem right. She remembers the quest log said she was accused of, so that could only mean one possibility, that Renee did not kill her. She believes the system may lack consciousness and shame, but it does not lie. Fiction doesn't lie to its readers, but it can certainly intentionally conceal the truth. She wonders, so who could have done it then? She tells her brothers, so she has got a rough idea of this situation, and asks them to listen to her. She says, well, the saint could have left on her own. Auntie rubs his face with his palm while Kirill looks at her as if she has lost her mind. Kirill tells her to use her brain and reminds her Karis was scheduled to marry the prince in a month. Would someone like that suddenly disappear on their own? Renee thinks then the possibilities increase, as she might have run away because she did not want to get married. Auntie asks her, does the saint seem like someone who would throw such a petty tantrum, and tells her not to equate herself with her. Renee says, why such a narrow view where you can be useful? She warns him that with such a petty heart he cannot do much. She notices Kirill seems to respond better than expected and wonders if she should exaggerate it a bit more. She adds, but the saint must have struggled a lot. Auntie inquires, what does she mean? She reminds him he said himself that the saint is very kind, so she probably ran away because she did not like the prince, but was too weak to reject him face to face. She gives them an evil grin and says, so what about investigating the prince for now? Kirill starts laughing, and the system informs her that Kirill's favorability has increased by 10. Renee says to Auntie not to just doubt her, even if others don't know her. He is her brother, so how about trusting her for once? He says, is she trying to emphasize their blood relationship now? She corrects him. It's not an emphasis. It's basic, isn't it? Just once trusting and embracing each other as a family. Auntie thanks for a moment, but then tells her if she had shown a gesture of trust even once, he would have believed her. But their family has given her chances repeatedly with the belief that she will come to her senses someday, and the result is this. She says, well, since there's a record, she guesses it cannot be helped. However, she extends an offer to them to just give her 1 month. If they give her just 1 month, she will prove her innocence. Both the brothers are taken aback by her demand, but Auntie composes himself and asks her if she even knows what she will do. Renee tells him to stop it and just trust her for once. She smiles at him and asks if he's getting nervous because he knows she might be right. He clenches his fist and says fine, if she can prove her innocence, he will do anything, even stake his name. She tells Kirill he's the witness. He eagerly agrees. The system then asks her if she would like to check the quest. She does, as she has been waiting. The quest shows that she made a deal with Auntie to prove her innocence within 1 month and prove that she did not kill the saint, and the clear condition is to prove innocence. Clear reward is she can make 1 wish to Auntie. She notices Kirill's favorability went up and thinks, oh, Kirill's favorability goes up too. But the problem lies for her. Why isn't Auntie's favorability going up? She thinks even if his own brother's innocence is proven, his favorability doesn't increase, and what hidden settings does he have anyway? Auntie abruptly turns and finds his sister with her hand extended, who asks him to take care of it for a month. He asks her what does she mean by take care. It might be wise to prepare for failure even now. He shakes her hand. She tells him okay, thanks for worrying about it. Kirill says it seems like something has changed. Auntie looks at his hand and thinks he did not plan to shake hands, but he couldn't avoid her hand. He thinks as a top-tier sword expert, he couldn't avoid the hand of a civilian who knows nothing about swordsmanship. Even when he held her hand, he couldn't feel anything. No skills, no kindness. But a moment ago, he almost drew his sword without realizing and just reached out his hand. He wonders why. What on earth is this? Later, Renee thinks, what should she do now? She lacks too much information, so even if she tries to move, she doesn't know anything. She decides to start by obtaining some information sources and thinks there must be someone at this large mansion who is somewhat friendly towards her, right? However, the maids treat her very badly and misbehave with her and tell her to stop tarnishing the Duke's name any further. She wonders how did Renee even survive here, as they are treating someone like this with such contempt. On top of that, her favorability drops even if she meets anyone. She decides to give up on getting information from this mansion, but one thing needs to be said. She holds the maid's hand and asks her to at least tell her her way to the room. The mansion is just too big for human decency. When she steps in her room, she is surprised as the room is actually nice compared to the treatment, She says let's start by changing out of these uncomfortable clothes. Upon exploring her closet, she discovers an array of dresses, accompanied by matching jewelry and shoes. She is mad as these dresses look to her as fancy-looking candy wrappers. She figured that Duke would be wealthy since he is a duke, but to spend this much on this, she thinks it is sweet for a noble woman like this. She wonders if with this kind of wealth, he could easily buy information sources with money, right? Actually, it's easy for her to create admirers. The malicious blood priest has the grandpa's sorcery, and the Lord of Temptation has the grandpa's skill. But now, during the adjustment of status, the combat transport skill was triggered in the middle of a battle in the war, resulting in the death of the direct subordinate. Now skill usage must be suspended. She thinks now it's possible to kill everyone like back then, and it's a situation where it might be possible to regress like back then. She knows they need to move cautiously and decides first to confirm if the saint is really dead, as there are no bodies, no evidence, no witness. She thinks either the saint ran away or was murdered, but nobody knows for sure. If the saint is alive, she needs to get her statement. If she's dead, she needs to catch the culprit and solve the quest. If she proceeds step by step like this, she will eventually be able to leave this world. She asks the King of Waves and Healing if they can find the saint. The King of Wave and Healing replies if he has her belongings, he can track her. The malicious blood priest asks if it's okay to just blame anyone for the crime. The Lord of Temptation boasts about his expertise in his field. Rennie warns him he is saying some dangerous things. It seems like there's someone here who also deals with the sacred, so the old tempter might get caught. The Lord of Temptation cannot handle the shocking matching. She tells them she thinks she should leave here. It seems like she won't be able to get any information sources, even if she spends money here. The King of Waves and Healing expresses concern about whether it's safe. She arrogantly says, oh who she, as an S-rank hunter, and the regressionist who cleared the top tower. The malicious blood priest scoffs at the idea that everyone who meets her is in danger. The Lord of Temptation laughs uproariously at the joke from the malicious blood priest. The cunning Lord of Blood suggests going to the missing scene. She tells him it's a good idea, but she doesn't know where the missing scene is. The astute Lord of Blood makes a sharp observation. She says it's true, but she cannot give up. Even shit can be used for evil in this world. She goes to her brother Auntie to get the report of the incident. She tells him if he doesn't want to remain as a family suspected of murdering the saint, so he should cooperate quietly. This causes him to be furious, who asks if she is threatening him. He then sighs and says he can give her the report. However, taking a guard with her is a condition. She tells him she doesn't need that. If it's his guys, they will just be a burden. He asks her if she doesn't understand the meaning of the condition. She points out at his closest associate and says that person will do since they will be watching her anyway and reporting back. Wouldn't it put his mind more at ease to send a closest associate? She also demands him to lend a carriage too. She arrives at the place where the saint was last seen. It's outside the Duchy of Machiras. According to the report, 10 days ago the saint disappeared while providing healing services in this slum. It is still unclear whether she was kidnapped or disappeared. Melson priest approaches her and asks what is going on here. She observes the priest and thinks it looks like he's doing something extravagant right, and also notices the book he's carrying and wonders what that luminous book is. She lets him know she is here to reveal the true culprit and asks them to cooperate. The priest's men question that did not they say the Duke's daughter was the culprit, and now they're claiming there's another culprit. She tells them it's not a claim, it's a fact because she did not kill the saint. She is quick to remind them that they also have no evidence or witnesses that she is the culprit. Since they don't have the ability to find the saint, they probably haven't found her yet. She hopes they understand that she means to join forces for good. She has a plan that she's just going to suck up their information and investigate on her own. The priest men say what she says is also correct and looks like they're ready to work with her. But the priest notices and doesn't like it and questions how they can believe the young lady's claim of innocence. She smiles and thinks, look at this guy. Looking at him, it looks like he's not good with his bare mouth. She guesses her security is being questioned and lets them know she brought donations like this and has literally brought lots of jewels and treasures. The priest's greedy eyes sparkle with light upon seeing the jewels. He apologizes for not knowing her true feelings and asks if there's anything he can help her with. First of all, she asks him if he has any of Lion Karis' belongings. The longer he has something, the better. He smiles and says then there's nothing like this scripture. It belongs to the saint. He asks if there's anything else she needs. She thinks is expected. The more money spent, the faster it becomes. She tells him she wants to look around the tent where Lady Karis stayed. When she arrives at the tent, she notices it's neat, frugal at the level of advertising that she is a saint. The associate she brought along calls for her. He asks her about the donation. She says, why is there a problem? Because as she remembers, thanks to it, she also got the scriptures. He says no, that's not it. He thought she hated the church. He seems hesitant and says because something like that happened with the archbishop. She wonders what he is talking about again and asks for him to go on. He apologizes and says it must have been something she doesn't want to think about again. She tells him no, keep going. She has done many things that she cannot remember. He reminds her when the archbishop declared Lady Karis a saint. On that occasion, the young lady poured champagne into the archbishop's face. She sharply cuts him off and says enough and tells him to say no more. She thinks this body lived a very hard life. He adds that it wasn't because of the saint. The archbishop said she had committed a very indecent act. He says that's what happened. Still, people did not believe it, and what the archbishop did was in vain. He asks her if that was also a misunderstanding, right? She tells him to think whatever he likes. Isn't everyone like that by now anyway? Think what they like and do what they like. She thinks to herself. No one listens to someone without a bad reputation. She then tells him she will investigate her, so he should go out and wait. The old memories resurfaces. In past life, her previous life, even in countless regressions, it was something she had experienced several times. Moreover, it will be something she will experience in the future. In this situation, facts are of no use. The truth is what they want to hear, because what they don't want to hear is a lie. She knows she cannot trust anything other than herself. And since she came in, the body is her. Is there anyone else in this world who can trust her as much as she does? She thinks no matter what suspicious or false accusations are thrown at her, she will still believe in Renee. Even if she was a really bad kid, what would she have done? In this world, everyone sees her as a bad person, so she should become a bad person. She makes a promise to Renee that she will listen to her. From now on, she will never doubt Renee. On the other hand, the priest informs Satan Ansarad, who asked if the daughter of the Duke came to visit. The priest tells him they say they are conducting a direct investigation to prove their innocence. The priest thinks he would have never thought that His Highness the Crown Prince would send Satan, a person who earned the title of Mercenary King at the age of 20. He is the head of the Shira Guild, the continent's best mercenary guild. One of the only two sword masters in the Empire. There are endless titles that describe him, including the Light of the Ramdesha Empire. But he thinks it takes a person like this to be able to investigate a case like this. Satan asks the priest if he believes that she has come here to prove her innocence. He replies he doesn't believe it completely, but he thinks there will be a lot of backlash from them if they don't give them a chance at all. Satan believes he must have taken a bribe. Not surprising, however, what's surprising is the fact that Renee came all this way and investigated in person. He thinks it seems like she was quite impatient. He recalls the rumors he has heard about her cutting off Viscount Kelsey's hair, making the saint's trip. Of course, there are definitely some unclear parts. but he knows it has nothing to do with him. He instructs the priest to refrain from giving her any information, in particular the fact that there are witnesses must be hidden. When the priest tries to say something, he cuts him off by saying this is what the crown prince ordered. He then says, "Let's go and meet the duke's daughter now." The priest collapses without any sign. He didn't even feel any magic. He thinks this is the energy of a dream demon. He pushes off the dream demon and pulls out his sword quickly. He thinks to himself, he who is the sword master can barely withstand it. Then it must surely be a power comparable to that of a high-ranking demon. He thinks who on earth could summon this level of demons, moreover, in a place with so many priests. He can feel it and believes this person is surely stronger than the crown prince. In this uncertain and unstable world, the one and the only thing that supported Satan, which allowed the war orphan to survive without ever seeming strange, was war. Due to this, he pursued and coveted only power like a devout believer. Even though he hails as the mercenary king for building the continent's largest mercenary guild. Even when he amassed wealth and power through the consolidation of the upper class, he continued to feel a burning thirst. It is like looking up at the sun, shining down into a dry well. The only thing that can relieve the endless thirst, however, as that thirst grows longer, is overwhelming strength, more overpowering than even the continent's mightiest crown prince. He steps out of his tent and notices the entire area fell into slumber. That is impossible with just one dream demon. The energy is strongest there and realizes that it's the saint's tent over there. Approaching the location, his eyes widen in shock, sensing the profound and intense energy that pervades the surroundings. He thinks it strange, as if it already surpassed his limits. He has never experienced such an energy before. He realizes it's beyond human understanding and isn't as close to a natural disaster. He cannot even dare to compare it to the crown prince, as this is someone whom nobody would dare to harm. He cannot afford to miss such a golden opportunity. He needs to find who it is. He thinks what he has achieved so far has not been his goal. Only becoming stronger gives him satisfaction. More. He wants to feel more. He steps in the tent and screams for the person to show himself. Nevertheless, he begins to feel dizzy, and before long, he collapses onto the floor, succumbing to unconsciousness. Our female protagonist notices him and thinks, what about this kitten? Moments ago, system notification popped up. They apologize sincerely for any inconvenience caused to the possessed person. The synchronization of possession and system adjustment has been completed. She thinks no wonder it has sealed half of her abilities. This must be designed to be solved later as a quest. She wonders why it is so annoying. She sighs and thinks she should be satisfied with this much and asks if they find the saint with this scripture, Sister Water. She asks the tempting old man if he can summon a demon here, would it be trouble in front of the priests? The Lord of Temptation gets angry and tells her not to ignore him. She smiles and says, all right then. Let's ask the priest for a short nap. And all the demons surround her. Back to the present, Satan is unconscious. She has settled him in the bed and is sitting next to him, thinking he's really pretty. He reminds her of a cat she used to have next door, Blackie, some time ago. The king of waves and healing admires the appearance of Satan with her. She thinks there's something about these eyes that particularly catches her heart. The leader of the vicious blood cult says she really genuinely appreciates beauty. Renee replies, well, that could be the reason. The Lord of Temptation playfully suggests that he noticed her admiration when summoning demons, hinting that she has a fondness for handsome men. She mutes the Lord of Temptation and thinks what nonsense is he saying. System alerts her that the Lord of Temptation has sent her a private message in exchange for 100 years reprieve from the afterlife. The Lord of Temptation demands to know how she can mute him just because he said she likes handsome men. She covers her ears and says it's so loud. Stop it. Please stop, and think the system must be crazy. Why does it use private chat? She tells them to concentrate. Now they need to decide what to do with this guy. The Lord of Temptation complains that he doesn't like him since he fell asleep. She checks his stats and believes they're pretty strong. She then realizes no wonder the dreamer demon had a hard time. After all, strength is everything. Lord of Temptation says, how about killing him right now? She says, let's keep him alive for now, as she quite likes him. She thinks because it's the first time someone whose affection toward Renee is not negative. She thinks, well, he's not only pretty and cute, but also seems obedient, right? Looking at his favorability, it seems that he's not someone who only judges people by listening to others. The leader of Vicious Blood senses something ominous is going to happen. She thinks, judging by his title, he must have a lot of information, and since he is a sword master, he doesn't have to worry about falling over and dying. She convinces herself these will be all in her favor so she could have him. She says good, she has decided he is hers from now on. The leader of Vicious Blood is confused and asks what that means. She replies she is going to make him her subordinate. He's like a perfect pet for her, more like a human companion, right? The leader of Vicious Blood strongly threatens to get angry if she doesn't kill the guy right away. She tells him to do whatever he wants and asks the Lord of Temptation if he came up with anything. The Lord of Temptation gives her the report of the dream demons. She checks it and says mostly there's nothing special, but realizes there is a witness. The Lord of Temptation delivers the witness information to her. She thinks, look at this, there's a witness, and they hid it from her. They are going to swallow everything up and then clean their mouth, thinking that it was also the orders of the Crown Prince, and this guy makes her more furious. She excitedly ends up hitting him in the nose. She is shocked she hit him without even realizing it. The Lord of Temptation snorts and asks if he might die because of that. The leader of the Vicious Blood agrees and says he is speaking the truth for the first time in a while. The King of Waves and Healing rebukes the human companion, saying that the face is important, but this may be too much. The King of Waves and Healing reprimands and says it is excessive to prioritize appearance for human companions. The Lord of Temptation says it's okay because they are more handsome. She tells the guys it is enough. The leader of the Vicious Blood cult shakes his head as if he's tired of this. She mutes all of them, but decides to unmute Sister Water since she needs her help with the treatment. She decides to fix her mistake, but she will scold him separately later. She whispers to him she will see him soon and calls him her companion and leaves. In Satan's dream, Renee refers to him as Blackie and tells him it's time to get punished for making his master angry. He's confused and asks what is she talking about. Her response to that is that she is his master from today, and if he does not wake up, she will punish him. He is still confused and repeats once again the question. What is she talking about? He asks her, who the hell is she? Slowly and gradually, he regains his consciousness with the help of Water Sister, but his nose hurts and he wonders why does his nose hurt. He slowly recalls what happened earlier and thinks about his energy and wonders what happened to his energy. His eyes then land on Renee, who is sitting next to him, and asks him if he is up now. He addresses her as the daughter of Duke Macuris. She says he seems to know her and inquires if they have met before. He explains to her they have never met before and thinks it's a completely different atmosphere than he has heard, but he closes his eyes as if trying to remember something. When she's too much into his personal space, he kindly requests if she can please step back. She simply whispers he remembers. He asks her what. She says her spirit and places her hand on his. He notices when she put her hand on his. No more than that, and the feeling came rushing back. He cannot believe it. His eyes widen in shock when he realizes. It feels like she seems to know what conclusion his mind came to. Because she confirms yes, the person he came for is her. He asks her if she was the one who summoned a high-ranking demon. She says she thought his wisdom stat was high, but he's a bit stupid. He's still confused, so she changes the topic and asks if he followed the Crown Prince orders and refers to him as Blackie. Her blue eyes become darker and her gaze focused and calculated, and she questions him why did not he not announce that there was a witness. He seems reluctant to reply and chooses to act ignorant and says he has no idea what she is talking about. The next moment she is in his face and warns him that they shouldn't waste each other's time. She just met the witness in person and heard everything. She asks what is the last act of the saint and who was the one who told him to cover it up. But what annoys her the most is she grabs his jaw and lets him know that they hid it and pretended they did not know. She knows the saint was not kidnapped. She left on her own, which means there was absolutely no reason for her to be locked in a dungeon. It seems like he is flustered because of her close proximity, as he easily reveals that the crown prince assumed that Saint left because she threatened her. She leans into him and whispers he is more obedient than she thinks right. She doesn't think he's scared. She asks him if she doesn't look like Cerberus. The other lords all witness this in awe. She says, well, there is a record about her in the past, so it is a reasonable guess, but it's not true. He reminds her that the crown prince must have a different opinion about her. She guesses so too. The new bride disappeared just before her wedding, hiding the only witness in that situation. Either could be because he's the one who turned his back and can't trust anyone because his fiancée disappeared, or because he is the one whose reputation is linked to his fiancée. They believe it's one of the two. Satan says that's quite different from the rumors he heard that she has been in love with the crown prince for a long time. Listening to her, he thinks it's rather close to hate him. She responds to him by claiming she doesn't like him anymore. No, she hates him. She believes no matter how much of a twist it may have been, why would she even like the guy who framed her? He remains quiet for some time, as if having an internal debate, but then confesses to her that he has one thing to tell her. He reveals the crown prince and the saint. The two are known to be lovers of the century, but the reality is different. Their engagement was nothing more than a contractual relationship. He further adds it was an engagement decided only because it was necessary. She claims she knew they were not in love with each other. But then she realizes he is giving her secrets and asks why is he telling her that all of a sudden. He gives her an innocent smile. She lets him know whatever it may be. If what he says is true, it makes sense. It was an engagement out of necessity. He must have wanted to eliminate any circumstances that would make him suspect that he was the one who kidnapped and murdered his fiancée. She also knows she was a thorn in his throat, so he got rid of it. She sighs in relief and says now that she has figured out everything she needed to know, she has to go. Just as she turns to leave, Satan halts her in her tracks with a demanding question, seeking to know if she happens to be a demon. She replies, what is he talking about? Of course she's a human. He wants to know then how did she get to such a state with her human body? He narrows his eyes as he says that was the power that could not exist. That energy, no matter what he thinks, wasn't something that a person could have. It's not just strong, but a very dark power that seems to harbor an old grudge. He demands to know what did she have to go through to have this kind of power. She tells him all he has to do is die 58 times. He is taken aback by her answer and whispers what? She says, or the other alternative could be to try to save the world. He wonders if this is a joke. He reveals to her that he has heard that the lady has never held a sword before. He wants to know why is she hiding her power. With that much power, the empire, no, he corrects, it's a power that can unify the continent. She simply replies, what is she going to do with unification? She is not interested in that at all. He says he knew it. She only follows the path of the sword. She thinks, what is he talking about? She just wants to go home. He grabs the blanket tightly and reveals that he has decided that he will serve his lady as she will be his teacher. They both remain in awkward silence for some moments. Her mind turns blank trying to contemplate if she heard right, while he looks more than eager to be a student. Satan answered, who is he? He has achieved countless achievements to the point where he is called the light of the empire. He has received both a lot of hate and admiration because he is a commoner of unknown origin. The only thing he's interested in is the part of the sword, but the desire to overcome his own limitations is another. But even the crown prince, who was said to be the strongest in the empire, wasn't enough for him. He thought his highness was stronger than him, but that's all. The difference in skill doesn't overwhelm him. When he lost his goal, boredom overwhelmed him. He had no interest in anything, but one day he encountered a light that illuminated his forgotten longing, and it is called Rene Macurus. The system reveals Satan favorability has increased by 200. Once again, he requests her to please teach him a great lesson. The system tells Renee an unexpected option occurs. A mercenary king has asked her to accept him as a disciple. Would she accept that offer? She's busy contemplating what to do while he thinks, is she going to serve him as a teacher? Renee thinks she has never made anything like that, let alone a disciple, in her long life. No matter how many years it takes, the end is the same anyway. She reveals it's hard to live alone, but she hates taking responsibility for other people's lives. She wonders if this guy is worth enough to overturn that idea. He looks at her with puppy eyes as he's waiting for her answer. It seems like she must have come up with her decision, as the system says the selection is complete.